I would say more than anything, what I've found to be the most important factor in making an acquisition happen, Aaron, is
Yeah.
making sure that the people that you're looking to acquire are definitely a part of your culture. Because if they're
Mm-hmm.
not on the same page about things, it's going to make it, you rather, then it's probably better off like doing your own thing
Yeah.
than running a smaller
Yeah.
office.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Cash PT Lunch Hour podcast. I'm your host, Aaron LeBauer, and today my special guest is Jerry Yoo. Jerry is a physical therapist. He's been in practice for 20 plus years, maybe as long as me, but I haven't been a PT that long. But the cool thing about Jerry is not only is he an awesome person to hang out with, but he let me know he recently acquired another practice. And I was like, instead of expanding by building his own, I was like, oh, we got to talk about that. So Jerry, thank you so much for being on the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks a lot, Aaron. Really, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome, man. So when did you graduate from PT school?
Oh my gosh, the dark ages. We're going back to 2001 at
Nice.
Columbia. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I graduated my massage program in '99 and started my business like right then.
Oh
But
man, that's
yeah,
crazy.
so I was thinking, like someone said the other day, it's like, oh, you've been in business like 15. I was like, no, I haven't. Like clinic, I was like the clinic here. Yeah, we started the clinic in. I started the PT clinic in February 2000 and when was it? 2009 was when we
Oh my
started in
God.
PT
Yeah,
practice. Yeah.
that's
So,
fabulous.
which has been a while. So,
Yeah,
it's awesome.
definitely. Yeah.
Dude, so you own so tell us about your business. You own Next Level Physio in New Jersey.
Yeah,
Is that the
exactly.
business you've had for 20 years?
No, actually, it's funny, I was, after Columbia, I got my DPT at Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I actually worked in pediatrics. I was a board scholar. So I worked for the New York City Department of Education, working with kids with disabilities. And it was a great experience. From there, I got involved in private practice, which is really where my passion was.
Mm-hmm.
And after a number of years, I worked for about 10 years with a partner. We kind of went our separate ways, and I decided to open up Next Level. So now it's our sixth year of being
Okay.
open. Yeah,
Awesome. And so prior to that, so you had a business partner. Were you guys just two owners of the business?
owners. Yeah, exactly.
How long did you do that?
That was 10 years.
Okay.
And it's funny because I would say that having a partner can be challenging, especially if you
Right.
guys don't see eye to eye a lot. But in the end, I think it was best that we kind of went our separate ways.
Yeah. Now, did he maintain ownership of the business, or did you guys dissolve it? How'd that work?
He's still in practice,
Okay.
actually in New Jersey. So yeah, the business is
Okay.
still existing currently.
Wow. Awesome. So I got a lot of other things I want to ask you about, but this is something that even I went through where I was before my consulting business kind of took off. There was another person here in town who we were starting to teach like hands-on techniques to other physical therapists. He is a massage therapist and acupuncturist, and I'm a massage therapist and PT, and a lot of PTs don't have the skills that we had, and so and he's also did dry needling, and so
Yeah.
we were teaching people, but we ended that after 2 years. We ended the relationship because we didn't have the same kind of vision and timeline, and there was clearly a lack
Yeah.
of communication, and it was good that we ended it
Yeah.
before too long. But can you talk about like what were some of, like, looking back, what are some of the things, like there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, I should get a partner for this. What are the reasons that it worked out, and what are the reasons that you would just kind of share with people to avoid?
I think that if I were to really kind of think about that experience, by the way, it was a great learning experience. I do wish my partner well.
Yeah.
We just had different ways of communicating that were
Hmm.
not aligned. And we had different, I would say, values as far as time.
Yeah.
And so it got to a point where I felt like things were a little bit imbalanced, if you will. And
Hmm.
so I always tell people who think about partnerships, you got to really be careful. You got to really know your partner. You really got to think about the core values of what you both live by. And if
Right.
these things just start to either shift or don't align anymore, it really is time to move on because it can end pretty sour if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to a audiobook last week. What's it called? Like Rocket Fuel by Gino
Oh,
Wickman. You know
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Track wide retractions,
Yeah.
fabulous book.
Yeah. Yeah. I have Traction, haven't read it. And I was like, well, maybe I'll
Really
listen to
good.
one of them. So I started listening to Rocket Fuel. Um, and, and they talk about visionaries and integrators, right?
Yeah.
Do you like, can you explain like what your understanding of those two are? And were you guys both visionaries or both integrators? How did, was there friction in that
Funny because I
place?
think my partner would have thought that he would say that he's a visionary, and I would say that too.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize about myself at the time was because I was busy implementing how much of a visionary I was as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that being involved in a role like an implementer, which I did well, but one where it wasn't really my true nature, if you will.
Right. Right.
I think that's where some of the conflict also came.
Yeah.
But leaving that partnership, I realized that having the vision, being the driver of your business, seeing what other people can't see on the bigger forefront of like, hey, this is how we have to go, this is where we have to pivot, seeing those bigger picture items
Mm-hmm.
is really what a visionary I think does. The
Mm-hmm.
implementer, like my business manager Yvonne and James, my ops manager, they are the guys, they are the people who are implementing every single day. So whatever's going on behind the front desk, what's going on in the practice, even with our PTs,
Yeah.
they have a really good sense of what has to get done for things to be successful.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I think like when I was listening to the book, there's like these checklists. It's like, you're a visionary if, and I was like, yes, 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 yes,
Oh, you're
yes,
definitely visionary.
yes.
Visionary.
And it's just like, a couple of them were, you see problems other people don't.
Yes, exactly. And you see opportunities that other
Yeah.
people don't
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
Yeah. Like solutions to problems other people don't, opportunities people don't. And it's just like, I was like, dude, that's me in a nutshell. But
I mean,
then
when I met you, I thought you were a visionary off the bat. No question. So.
awesome. Thanks. I
Yeah.
think what were some of the other ones were like, it was more like, I can't remember the other like traits or questions, but I think one of the things is like you have a vision and you know what you want. You might not know how big it can be,
Yeah.
but you kind of like, I need to do this, but you're not as good as the day-to-day like management of people and communication with people. Like I'm very, as much of a good communicator as I am, maybe through social media and video podcasts, it's very difficult for me to communicate what I want to have happen to my employees, right? But the integrator is the person that I should be able to say, hey, this is what I want to have happen. The integrator goes and communicates to people, and everyone goes, oh yeah,
Exactly.
great, this is perfect.
Right. Or they
Right?
can take the action, take what you're saying, and say, okay, well, let's put it into the action plan and break it down. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. One of those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's like that person that can read your mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was another book that I read, and it was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was Being a Hunter in a Farmer's World. And
I like that.
and it's like with like a lot, especially people with ADD, is like like it's like you go and like you destroy the field and you need people to come and clean up after you.
Yeah, right.
But this is talking about hunters are people that are migratory. They can't sit still for a long time. They need to go out and find something new. And the farmers are the people that are patient, and they're going to sit and wait and watch the field, watch the seeds grow all the way to the end, and they're going to do that over and over, year after year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly true. It's funny because when I took that visionary integrator test, I actually scored fairly similar. Like the difference wasn't that great. So then I realized that's probably why I was able to integrate well previously.
Do you think you learned to be an integrator? Do you think you learned to be an integrator because of the role you had, or do you think you're a little of both?
I think I was actually a little of both to begin with, but I actually suppressed my own visionary switch, if you will, because I just relied on my past partner to have that. But when I left and then had the time to really think and reflect and really kind of expand my mind, and also getting great coaching from people like you and also from Paul Go, I realized that that was a big part of me that I had suppressed, and I had now once I unleashed that, I was like, wow, this is who I am. This is really about this is more about who I am as a person.
Yeah. What's changed for you since that?
Since the practice.
Yeah, since like what's changed for you, like mindset? Like, is there something specific? Like, did your business do something different than you were able to do, or just like a mindset, or even like like what's changed for you since you had that realization that like I am a visionary and I can now do X?
So many things. I mean, literally, walk down the street or have conversations with people and be like, you know what, that's something we need to put into our practice. Or even just sometimes scrolling through social media or even through different emails I get from different things like, oh, I wonder how that would actually integrate into what we do. And so a lot of the stuff, like maybe I'll present 10 ideas and one of them will actually work,
Right.
but being the person who's driving the ideas and saying, this would actually be a great thing for us. And having that mindset actually has been, for me, the biggest change.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One of the other questions was, you have a million ideas. I was like, yeah, I have a million ideas. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So for the last 6 years, you've owned Go Next Level Physio.
Yeah.
You guys are you guys, I think you guys are some in network, probably 20-30% cash, and or what's your in network, out of network cash mix? How does that set up, just so everyone has context around it?
Yeah, we're about 35% cash based now, and we are about 65 to 70% out of network.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we are actually making a hard pivot towards going fully cash based, because I feel like if you're looking, and I guess part of the visionary thing, right? Looking at the future of healthcare, looking at how the trends are in our industry, it seems like it's either going to be in network or cash based at some point.
Yeah.
And so I figured that I don't want to be in network. So let's just do all that we can to convert what we have and de-risk our business and become more cash based.
Yeah. What specific things are you guys doing? And well, you guys have you have a bunch of other staff members. You have a couple physios and admin support and stuff like that.
Correct. We have 5 full-time DPTs, and it's funny because the funny story about our staff is we either have all of our PTs are either students or former students of mine, and our staff are either past patients or friends of past patients. So we're very sort of tight knit in who we know and who we let into the club, if you will.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. And how do you get them to buy into charging cash? Like because I know a lot of people are like, my staff won't even didn't believe this is, something they should be doing. Like how have you been able to do that?
It started with me first, also understanding my value as a PT and as a practice and what services we provide. And that was the biggest mind shift, I would say, Aaron. And that happened probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And implementing that was a little challenging because, we're going from, I don't know, $25, $30 copays all the way to now $225 a visit. And it was hard to help my staff at the time also see that as well about themselves. So I think that self-belief that was probably the biggest, I guess, change, and also for our management team. And then realizing that, oh my God, people are actually paying for this. It's funny. It's like, I actually matter, I actually am worth something. And I think that has given a lot of confidence to our existing staff. And the people actually we've acquired as well, their team also realizes the big value of just charging cash. Yeah. And so altogether, it's been a concerted effort to move in that direction.
Yeah, that's great. Let's see. So you got 5 physios staff, but you're not treating patients. And
I'm seeing a couple in North Carolina, just sort of like in my garage, if you will. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And you don't live, so you practice in New Jersey, and you moved to North Carolina kind of during the pandemic or right before, right?
Right in smack in the middle of it, which it was not planned that way.
Yeah. But why'd you move down here?
It's funny. I've always, and my wife, she knows this. I've always wanted to move to where it was not only warmer, but also where there was an opportunity for us as a business. And North Carolina, with its direct access, as you're very well aware of, a lot more autonomy. Dry needling was a good tool for us to use in New Jersey, and so I wanted to take that back down here. And it just seemed like a place where I wanted to raise my family as well. And so all those things really came into play when we made the decision to come down.
Awesome. How many kids do you have?
2 girls.
Nice.
Awesome. My older one is junior. My little one is a freshman. So we just started our college tours this week. So
cool. Have you guys picked Duke or UNC as fans since you've been down here yet?
I'm going to say UNC because the tuition is more favorable.
Right.
But I mean, they're both good schools, of course.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the question is your clinic still running and you're not there? Yeah. How are you making that work?
It's funny because when I talk to a lot of friends or people I've just met, they're like, wait a minute, so you have 2 businesses in New Jersey and you've got North Carolina. And I have to say that had I not had the support of our leadership team and our core team, and also supporting them while I'm down here, saying, listen, we're in this together. We want to make this work. I can function better for the business as a CEO founder if I can have the time to think about things and really plan ahead. And that has really paid off, I think, for the business, and making some very key hires in the past year or two for sure has really helped make this a more successful endeavor, if you will.
Yeah. Who's the key hire? Who's the key hire, or like, what's the role, I guess, is more important.
I would say business manager and operations are the two biggest roles. And then having a clinic director to manage a clinical team, also very key role. You got to have the right people to be able to maintain that sort of level of excellence clinically, and make sure people are on track, people are staying ahead, if you will. Yeah, for sure.
How'd you know they were the right people?
It's funny. So as I said, the hires we've had have been past students, and making sure that we have basically 6 C's for hiring people. So are they coachable? Are they committed? Do they have conviction? How do they communicate and receive communication? Do they collaborate? And do they like being part of community? And when they check off all those boxes, and we spend our time during the affiliations, Aaron, to really vet our students so that we can say, this is somebody we want to hire. That actually gives us a lot more confidence to say that this person would do really well with our other team members and with the vision that we have and direction we're going as a company.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. So you have like DPT students come do like a clinical rotation with you guys. And then from there, you end up hiring them if they feel like a good fit.
Exactly. Or the timing works out too. Sometimes, whatever. But the thing is, we use, after we sort of like vet them out during the interview process, we also use that affiliation as like the testing grounds. So what do they really like with clients? What do they really like with our staff members? Are they showing an ego, that kind of stuff? And it becomes very easy after 8 to 10 weeks of an appeal, like, the right fit.
Yeah. So. Do you get to interview them before you say yes to the school, like for the person? How does that work?
We make it mandatory. We say, listen, we're a high level clinic and we have cash paying clients. So we have to make sure that the student is the right fit for our culture. And I make it very clear to the people in charge at schools. And so we meet them, we actually do a practical exam, and we do a written exam for them as well to make sure that their knowledge is on par. And if they pass those things, then they're on board for the affiliation.
Dude, that's awesome. Where I went to school at Elon, that was not a possibility. Like we just got placed, And so my view is that I'm like, no one's gonna say yes to my requirements, like let me interview you, see how good you are, if you're, and pick and choose, so
exactly.
No, that's good to know. That kind of opens my eyes. I mean, I just kind of shut off to that. I was like, I could never bring someone on who's just placed here randomly. Like it's not gonna work.
Right, exactly.
So, awesome. So, you've got students treating some cash paying clients. Are they doing that on their own?
We have some students we're very careful and strategic about how we have our students work with clients because they are paying cash. And so what we first do is before they start their refill, let's just say, for example, their affiliation starts in September. We make it mandatory they have to come in August and work as sort of like a coach aide, if you will, for about a month. And that allows a lot of people to get that familiarity with that student. And they get to see like, oh, this guy, or this gal really knows what he or she is talking about. And so once they transition to become a student, it's a lot easier for those clients to want to work with that person.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
The biggest compliment we got was one of our students, even though he said he's a student, with what some of the patients would say, I didn't know that you were a student. That's the level that we hire. So wow, this is surprising. So
yeah, that's awesome. I got that, but I had already been treating patients for 6 years.
Exactly. So you already had that basis coming in.
Yeah, which is a total advantage for me. I was one of the few people that got a stipend for my final clinical rotation. That was 6 months. I got help with the rent. And I got a free place to rent, and I got a stipend.
Oh my gosh, that's actually the next level we want to get to as well. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Reminded me we want to go that route too.
Yeah. Alan, that was Alan Ling. I interviewed him about 5 episodes ago. He's
cool.
a great guy. Like if you want me to connect to you, I can. What he doesn't do that anymore. I think I was maybe the first and last. I mean, he was like, I'll do it for you because we met at PPS, and he was like, I got to have this guy at my clinic.
That's great.
But San Francisco is like, maybe in northern New Jersey, it's like this. I could move out there, but I can't find a place to live.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Right. So he had like a rental apartment, and instead of renting it out to regular people, he rents it out to the students, and he's always got students coming through his clinic. So
great.
and they work for him too. So I think it sounds like it's a great model. I didn't work for him though.
You went on your own.
He offered me a sweet job,
Really?
Yeah. Manager at a second location, like $120,000 a year, and help buying a house,
Oh my gosh.
And I turned him down.
Hard to turn down.
I know. He said, Aaron, I'm going to make you an offer that's going to be really hard for you to turn down, but you probably will turn it down. And I was like, you're probably
that's
right.
what I knew you had.
Yeah. So I think one of the last times we chatted, we sat down. You came here to Greensboro in the summer, in that window of time where we could like sit in the boardroom together and
exactly.
chat. And we kind of built out like a long-term like game plan for you for growing your business and scaling to multiple locations. And can you just what did we plan out and where are you now? And I know a couple things we looked at like how do we add all to their locations, but I want to get to like how you acquired another clinic. But like, can you talk about like where you've been for the last 6 years and where you're aiming to go now?
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny when I sat down with you that day. The plan was actually, it's funny. Before we even did that, I was actually at a point where I was like, maybe this is a good time to sell.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling sort of like tired from having been in practice for so many years and finally getting a little R&R, if you will, relative R&R anyway, to just kind of think about the rest of my time here on Earth, if you will. I thought about, what do I really want to make this about for the next 10, 15, 20 years while I'm still working and stuff. And I decided that, I think what's really lacking in our profession is a legacy where we have our DPTs really giving the opportunity to be successful in a way that they can be supported along the way. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like, if I were to expand, say, to 5 or 10 clinics in the next 5 to 10 years, we would be able to select the right people who had the potential to become a director and manage their own satellite location on our next level and have the success that goes along with it. I really believe firmly that every DPT should be a six-figure, have a six-figure salary or earning 6 figures. And I wanted to make that happen if we could by having the right satellites and people in place to make that happen as well. Yeah. And so when I first we had talked about the game plan about, I was thinking 5 and 5 years. And so I was thinking, okay, so I have the one in Jersey. I'm probably going to open up one in North Carolina at some point soon. And then I thought that this might be a good opportunity for having one of our main guys, actually my original hire in Woodcliff Lake, to want to come on down to North Carolina. So we started game planning that a little bit. And we are now putting him through a coaching program to be able to be successful in that role. So that's kind of where we were. And along the way, all of a sudden, because we're looking for somebody to replace his position, I would say the main PT at the location that we actually ended up acquiring was looking for a position. We had put out a job ad on our Facebook and stuff like that, and I guess he had answered the ad, and I was like, oh, because I knew the seller very well, very respectful.
Was he the owner, or he's just like the top PT, like their manager?
Yeah, he was the main PT there, and the owners, great people, know them very well, highly respected. And so I was kind of taken aback by that. And I was like, well, this is going to be a little awkward. So we actually ended up, I think there was an offer made to this person. Mm-hmm. And then the sellers of the practice, my colleagues, they called me and I was like, this is going to be awkward. And so I said, hey, letting you know we didn't poach anybody. We just, and I was like, no, that's not what it's about. We'd like to know if you want to consider maybe an acquisition. And I was like, I didn't plan for it. I didn't budget for it. And I had to really think about it. But when they presented sort of the opportunity and what they had going on, it was something for me to really consider. And that was sort of like the why that I had to why I wanted to acquire. It's like, I really want to learn more about this. And even if the deal doesn't actually materialize, having that knowledge of if I wanted to acquire a practice or if I wanted to be acquired one day, this would be a great learning experience.
So you're trying to hire a new position.
Yeah.
Someone from across town who who's been at this other business, other's practice for a while, applies for your job, and you're like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
Then you have a conversation with them, and they were, whatever they told you, were like, I just need a new job, and you make an offer to them, and then the owners of that practice call you.
Yes.
And their intention was, we're looking to sell.
Yes, exactly.
That's,
And
that's awesome. Like, dude, just the dominoes just started falling.
it's crazy, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I definitely feel like sometimes you track the right experiences and
Hmm.
opportunities if you're in the right mindset to do that.
Right. Right.
And they're great people too. Highly respect the sellers,
Hmm.
and they set up a really great opportunity for us. And I'm actually, now that we're about 6 weeks into it, just really appreciating the acumen that one of the partners had in marketing. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing what he put together.
Yeah.
So I need to give him credit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, let's kind of unpack that a little bit. I think, um, what's my first question? Was the reason he was looking for a new job because they knew that he wanted to sell? Or do you have
No,
any idea? Like,
I actually, bottom line is, I think that there are a lot of different reasons and ones I really can't share.
yeah,
But basically, it became a point where maybe it wasn't the right as much of the right fit as they were hoping for
right.
in different ways.
Yeah.
Um, they're on great terms. There was
Yeah.
no like animosity there or anything.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't sure if like, like I'm just thinking like, well, maybe they were like, hey, we're trying to sell. And he was like, all right, I know I'm not going to last
well,
here
no,
for very long.
that
I need to
wasn't
go
it.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, that really wasn't part of the
Yeah.
equation actually.
Were
I didn't
those
even
two
know.
things? Did he apply and they contact you? Were those just completely separate events?
He had applied and then they had contacted me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it
Did they
was.
know he had applied? I guess, did they know he had applied?
I think he had to tell
Okay.
them.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
let me know.
Got
He
it.
gave them ample notice, of course,
Yeah.
but during that time frame, that's when the sellers had approached me.
Yeah. Okay. And when they approached you, what was the initial offer?
It was as far as like the
Yeah, I mean, were they like, would you, well, there's two parts to it. Did they say, would you consider buying our practice? Or were they like,
yeah,
hey, we're getting out of this. Would you consider doing this?
yeah, they actually had said, listen, you're probably one of the few people that we know could take this business to
Hmm.
a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to really trust that you can do that. And this has been our baby for the last few years. We'd
Yeah.
like to put this in someone's hands that we can trust. And I was like, I was really honored and touched,
Yeah.
to be honest, and
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
then, how long ago was that? How many months ago?
Wait, I was back in, I want to say July, August, Aaron,
Okay.
around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just now, I think January 1st-ish was the handover, something around there?
Handover was December, actually.
December.
And this is now our 6th week into
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that was like a 5-month process.
it was. And typically, from what I understand now from our M&A consultant,
Yeah.
it can be upwards of 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Ours actually, it was surprising, even though the deal was not as great as doing a multi-site purchase, for example, because it was my first time doing it, I really needed to deep dive into learning more about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably for a few months slowed the process down just because I was like, I just want to be certain that I'm making the right choice because it is risking my other practice too by putting in money to make this happen.
Right. Well, I can say that and point this out to everyone. If you've been living in Raleigh for a year, 2 years, and your practice is still running and profitable, what you're not risking is that practice is going to go like to the dumps.
Good point.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because a lot of people would risk that with going out of town for 2 weeks.
That's true. That's a good point. No.
You are risking it by expanding too fast and taking your eye off the ball and not having the right team members and the cultures being mixed. But I just want to lay that point out. Like, you've been away from that business, which a lot of people can't do for more than 2 weeks.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
I think to tag onto that point, I guess because of the uncertainty of COVID,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure because we had. I mean, the year before it was definitely rough. Don't get me wrong, and it was definitely hard on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we had muster to get through that, I was like, you just don't know what could happen. And so I think that exterior uncertainty for me, Aaron, was a factor in making me kind of like reconsider it as far as an opportunity.
Yeah. Dude, we're still like recovering from like physically, financially, emotionally, like team, like we're just like, we're all like scarred from like what, the things that we all had to deal with and do.
Absolutely. Yeah. You had a lot
some of the things that I miscommunicated to, I'm like, I'm still like eating it, I'm like, well, I had to let you know it was sink or swim time. And they're like still, so it was a tough 2 years. I can see why you would want to slow that down, and especially if it wasn't part of the plan.
Exactly.
So what was it that made it like work and you were like, this is a no-brainer, I have to do this?
Yeah, I think it was a couple of things. It was the way that the lease was set up. It was also the way that systems and processes were already set up.
Hmm.
Their main PT was very strong PT,
Yeah.
and their front desk, who is now one of our managers now, she was an amazing find, and her role and managing that office also was really key in this. I
Hmm.
think if any of those variables were taken out, Aaron, I don't think we would have actually worked.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was the systems,
Yeah,
like marketing or operations, both.
both for sure,
Okay.
and their sales process.
Yeah. They had a sales process, and then they
Yeah.
also had a like a practice manager and an like administrative manager, like
Exactly.
operations manager that were,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Very high level.
How many PTs in?
It's the one main PT and the owner, one of
Yep.
the owners,
Okay.
and so the main PT is who we acquired along, and
Okay.
the office manager as well.
Okay. Got it. Was there anything else when you're looking at this business? When you're, what was the, were there one or two things specifically that you were like, that thing is valuable. That's what's going to pay the rent and bring in the money. And I know that if I just tweak, this, it'll be
Yeah.
beneficial to me. Yeah.
I think the location for sure, being in Montclair, New Jersey, it's a very good
Hmm.
area as far as opportunity goes. And I would say, again, more the systems and also the hires.
Yeah.
So seeing the level that the main PT could actually sell as well,
Yeah.
huge. I mean, he was very well trained by the owner. So
Yeah.
just seeing his potential, like we have the potential to make back on this sooner than later if we lead him and manage the team in the right direction.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think
Yeah.
one of the things that I think about, like, and I have not acquired another clinic. I've acquired a
Yeah.
couple other like assets and properties and
Oh,
and
cool.
and
Yeah.
and like a internet, like a website, a PT directory, like
Oh, nice. Yeah.
everypt.com. I acquired that this last year. I haven't really announced it or
Oh,
talked about it, but
yeah. 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 That's
you
really
probably
cool.
are on every P. Are you on every PT? If you're
I think I am actually.
Yeah, it's like a really old website, and they, put most of us on there from
Yeah.
ages ago. I mean, I'm on there from 2008.
Oh, wow.
Um, but when I look at, I've had a couple people ask me like, Aaron, if I'm looking at a practice, what do you think is most valuable? And I know what that answer is. And for me, it's like, yeah, it's good to hear that it's the location and the systems they've set up. I
Yeah.
almost look at it and say, what's the marketing? Like, what's the revenue, right? Not just the accounts receivable through
Yeah.
insurance, but how many new patients come in a month that aren't attached to the owner?
Yeah.
Would you agree
Exactly.
with that?
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm actually glad you mentioned that because the revenue for sure was a big part of it as well. The potential for generate and seeing the financials too, seeing
Yeah.
well, this definitely is it's a business that can thrive with
Yeah.
the right input, and the owner being where she was, she actually has been stepping away, and seeing that the main PT was able to handle it and she was away from it was
Mhm.
also a big
Yeah.
factor in this too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What were kind of the stumbling blocks or big challenges you had to kind of overcome?
Oh boy, a lot of it was my uncertainty, I
Yeah.
guess you could say. And then you know how it is with any kind of landlord. And landlord was great, by the way, but there are questions that come up, and maybe some areas where we weren't necessarily aligned, but we worked through those together, and it worked out. But that took some time too, going back and
Hmm.
forth, to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah.
After that, I think it became like the valuation was a little bit challenging too, Aaron. And again, credit to the sellers; they put together a great business. But because they only have been in business at this location for a short period of time, the value of the practice could have been a lot higher, but it was at a level that was actually below that we both expected.
Hmm.
So as a courtesy, I took the numbers that we had in the financials, and I did two more valuations on it to make sure that they were getting a fair deal. And I said, listen, guys, after all the valuations we did, based on what we're seeing, the value of it today, it's X. And are you still okay with that? Because if you want to
Yeah.
wait, I'm more than happy to do that. But they really wanted to let it go at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Oh, that's
That's
awesome. So you had
yeah,
like three different like independent companies
yes,
come in and do a full valuation of the business based on
correct.
their assets, financials,
Yes,
income,
was
all that
it
stuff.
wasn't cheap, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I bet.
But
And it can take a while too, right?
yeah, exactly. The good thing is that once they all came around the same sort of ballpark range.
Hmm.
And so I was okay. So I'm going this not feeling like I'm trying to stiff somebody. I really
Right.
did my due diligence to make sure that they were getting the best deal at that time.
Yeah. Was the first offer that they like, who made the first, I want to know who made the first offer? Who threw out the number first? Were they like, hey, this is what we want? Or were you like, hey, this is what I'll take for it?
I said I actually came with the first number. Said, hey,
Yeah.
this is the range that I found.
Mm-hmm.
Again, from three other evaluations.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
And they were, I guess at the time, okay with it because it was like, okay, well, if that means we can get out sooner, then we can go
Right.
ahead with that.
Yeah. So one of the benefits to them was it sounds like they wanted to get the deal done rather than drag it out. And they found someone they trusted, and that was worth a lot to them.
Exactly. Which I know that for them at times it was definitely frustrating because they wanted to, because they thought, it's not, it's not a mega deal. And I thought, well, that's true, but I just want to make sure, got to make sure I'm learning what it's all about. So
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Now, okay. Now you make this deal. You have to meet with your lawyers, right?
Yeah.
Sign a contract, go back and forth a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Now, is this something that you go and get a loan from the bank to pay for? Or are they doing some kind of financing piece to it or still working there? Like, what are some of those details of how this works?
Yeah, there are a couple of ways you can go about it. The way that we chose to go with was you could have taken a business loan. We actually happen to have a line of credit available
Mm-hmm.
for our existing practice, so we use that instead.
Okay.
So we had enough in there to be able to purchase the practice.
Yeah. And you do like a one lump sum and then now you pay back to the line of credit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yep.
I think that's one thing that my accountant advised me to do a few years ago was open a line of credit for your business, even if you don't need it.
That's exactly advice I got too. So I'm glad it was there actually.
Yeah, it's awesome because now you don't have to go get a new loan. You've got like a chunk of change you can spend, whenever you need it. Yeah, and it's actually, mine are pretty good rates compared to like a mortgage. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's probably a little bit more than I could get a mortgage like in the last few years, but it's not much more. And the speed at which I can get it, and I don't have to have approval.
Genius. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was actually, I got that actually, believe it or not, during the pandemic because I was afraid of what could happen, but I'm so glad I set it up back then.
Yeah. I think I got mine right before the pandemic and I certainly used them, It was funny though. I got them and I got more for the clinic than I did from my coaching business. So I got one for each, but
really?
It's because the clinic's been in business longer.
I thought you were coaching much longer than around the same time.
I have, but it wasn't a separate official business until 2019. I hadn't split the two.
I see.
Early on, like it was also one of those things where I wasn't like, I didn't open my coaching business, say, hey, I'm going to do $1 million in my coaching business. I was just like, I just added it into LeBauer PT.
Yeah.
And then I split it. And then I was like, okay, let me get a line of, and that was, I can't remember when maybe it was 2018. And then it was a year or two later, I got the line of credit. And it was like, I was like, they both, I think even the coaching might generate a little bit more revenue than the clinic. And I was like, but it wasn't based on revenue, it was based on length of time. And,
I see. That's good to know actually.
Yeah. So you might even say, if anyone has one, like I should probably go back to the coaching consulting one and say, hey, can you give me more because I've been in business for another 2 years?
Exactly. Yeah.
And get them.
You're really good at it. So
yeah. So it's so it's interesting, but I think just the whole point is anyone listening, if you have a business that's been around for a few years, open a line of credit even if you don't need it because you never know when it'll come in handy. Dude, that's awesome. I mean, that's a decision that you made that like, huge benefit. You probably didn't even know what was going to come around. So. Okay. So Jerry, now you own 2 practices. You don't live anywhere. You don't live within 100 miles of either.
That's absolutely true.
Is the plan forward are you rebranding the new location Next Level? Or are you going to keep them separate? How is that going to work?
One thing that was advised to me by several of our experts was making sure that you wait at least 6 months before you make that change because the existing clients, typically people don't like change. So when they think, see different painting or, different kind of logos, it can sort of like make people feel uneasy. And what we decided to do was actually keep the name, which is it's called Adapt. And we have it now as Adapt powered by Next Level Physio.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
that's great. So it'll be like this little, if you do change any of the branding, it'll kind of like be this slow kind of merge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's really great. What are you most excited about with this? Like, what's the, I mean, I know you're still in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But what's to you been like the biggest advantage of expanding by acquiring rather than building?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that. So I think it's one of the questions you have to ask yourself if you're looking to acquire practice is what is this going to benefit? Is it going to benefit your practice that's existing already, or
Mm-hmm.
is there a niche or some sort of business model that will make or enhance your existing practice, where you can sort of integrate some practices and make
Yeah.
it better for everybody? And the fact that they were 100% cash based from the get go, the way they had set it up, as I said before, for me, I'm excited to see the potential in maximizing what we can from that practice and really building up a team over there to do that as well.
Yeah.
Even just learning what they did on the back end as far as their digital marketing and their sales process has already enhanced my practice in Woodcliff Lake. So
Oh, wow.
everybody's up right now, and hopefully we get out of this COVID slump and we move forward in steady fashion.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm most excited about, and also really excited about integrating two different teams. We made it like we really sat down with the two staff that we hired and made sure that they were going to be the right fit for our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And they've really, I'd say, exceeded our expectations, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see how we can really learn and grow together as two different teams.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, let's say someone came along tomorrow and was like, "Hey, Jerry, I heard you on Aaron's podcast. I got a business and it's awesome. You should buy it." Like, are you even in the mode to consider that? Or are you thinking like, I'll acquire next again, or I'll build next? Where are you already?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking now because I didn't consider before at both possibilities. And
Yeah.
I would say that, and this is actually for any listeners out there, it's much easier or simpler, I should say, not necessarily easy, simpler to acquire a cash-based practice than it is to acquire one that is mixed with insurance and Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more paperwork that has to happen, a lot more transition time. So I would say that I would want to create a niche where I'm only looking at cash-based practices as a potential.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a huge point. So, where you don't have to change the credentialing for Medicare and all the re-sign insurance contracts and even get a worse deal.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say that, as long as that, I would say more than anything, what I've found to be the most important factor in making an acquisition happen, Aaron, is making sure that the people that you're looking to acquire are definitely a part of your culture. Because if they're not on the same page about things, it's going to make it, it's probably better off like doing your own thing than running a small office.
Yeah. And even building it from scratch.
Yes.
Installing your own culture and systems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. That's amazing. Anything else like that we missed in this kind of like acquisition piece that you think would be important for people to know?
I would say that, again, be very clear on your why. Make sure that you have the right support behind you. So I made it my business to find the right M&A consultant. And by the way, I want to give some props to Mike and Jim over at 8150 Advisors. They really helped me through this as far as the acquisition piece, very important. Having the right transaction lawyer. So you don't want just your general attorney. You need somebody who does this specifically.
Yeah.
And having our CFO and CPA were very pivotal in making sure that their financials were where we thought they were. But having that team and also making sure that you have the right support team from your existing staff, because this is a burden on them as well. And so it's funny, the night before we made the purchase, I was having cold feet.
Yeah.
And I sat down with Yvonne, James, John, and Dave. I was like, are we doing the right thing? And after that conversation, I felt the conviction that we are making the right decision.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome. So your team is like the biggest kind of factor.
Oh my God, massive. I could not be doing and planning what I'm doing right now, Aaron, without them.
Yeah.
And so I invest as much as I can to them, as much as they have cared about my business. I want to make sure that they are taken care of.
Yeah, that's great. That's so awesome. Dude, I got like a million other questions, but we're kind of running out of time. Running out of time. It's so awesome, Jerry. There's a lot of lessons to learn from this.
Yeah, thank you.
If, there are a lot of people who are, either in school, graduating, or, just getting started in business listening. What are 2 or 3 pieces of advice or takeaways you have to pass on to them?
Sure. The first thing, if I were to do it over again, I would have hired a coach first. Because I really had no clue going into this, but meeting people like you, Aaron, and also people like Paul, really helped to change my mindset and also to help me see my business differently. And then surrounding yourselves with other business owners, because along the way, you're going to hit a lot of valleys. The people that you think will be there for you, like your friends and family, yeah, they'll be there for you, but they're not going to understand the storm inside your mind, if you will.
Right.
And you've got to be with people who understand that and can walk you through that and say, "Hey, I've been there. Let's talk this out." Very key. And understanding that, when you go through those valleys, and we all do, no matter how long we've been in business, those dark nights of the soul, you will definitely gain the resilience that you need if you keep sticking it out. But again, having that support, very, very important.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Yeah, I think my cousin Scott is the only, not the only, but one of my older cousins, my only other cousin who really is an entrepreneur. And I wouldn't say he's doing the same thing, but he owns his own life insurance business. He's part of one of the bigger ones. So he's kind of an entrepreneur, kind of different, but he's the first to tell me, Aaron, this is like floating in the ocean. You're going to go up and you're going to go down, and you just got to go, you got to ride the wave. You can't get worried when you're at the bottom.
It's hard not to, but you're absolutely right. I agree with that.
And I was like, but it was, like what you said, there are people in your friends and family who won't get it. And I got family members who just don't get it, and I can't really talk to them about business because
absolutely. And it gets really lonely too at times, right? It's like, well, I can't talk to the people around me who are closer to me because they won't understand. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, so that's why it is important to have those people, who do understand, and you can talk to, about, your finances and your problems and things. And they're like, yeah, I totally get it. They're not like, oh my God, you spent how much money on what? And you're like,
yeah,
but you manage a $1 million thing, but it's different money. They don't see it the same way.
They don't see it the same way. You're absolutely right.
So, dude, that's so awesome. If someone wants to get in touch with you, Jerry, or even internet stalk your clinic just to see what you're doing over there, where can they find you online?
So on social media, so on Instagram, at TryJerryDPT would be my personal Instagram. Our business would be at Next Level Physio and at Adapt PT and J, I think are our handles for Instagram. And for Facebook, find Next Level Physio.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
That's where you can see us.
Yeah, that's right. That's great. Oh yeah. And by the way, Jerry also does triathlons and rides bikes.
Yes, exactly. Hence TryJerryDPT. Yeah.
Are you have anything you're training for this year?
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to qualify for nationals again. There's a race actually at Beaver Dam, not too far from here in North Carolina. So I'm hoping from there we'll qualify for championships later this summer.
That's awesome. What distance?
That is Olympic.
Okay, awesome. My brother's got me training for a 100-mile gravel ride in November.
Is that right? Oh man, that's my next purchase, a gravel bike actually.
I love it. I've done 2 rides so far this year. I just have to do, I pretty much have to do 1 ride a week because I've raced bikes for a long time. I just have to do 1 ride a week and at least 1 ride over 4 hours, probably per month.
Wow.
And it'll be the longest I'll ever be on a bike. I think 100 miles. Wow. He's like, Aaron, you got 10 hours. You can finish. Thanks.
That's great.
So it'll be awesome. Dude, thanks so much for coming on the show. This was a lot of fun.
Aaron, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey guys, this is Aaron and Jerry for the Cash PT Lunch Hour. Embrace your visionary status. Go find other people in your team to implement your plan and go create some amazing jobs and crush it. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks.